Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Kristen Dorr, and I'll be the moderator on today's webinar. Today, Scott Burt is going to be talking about email governance best practices, how to reduce your email content, cost, and risk. Scott is an eDiscovery and ILG expert. He's very well versed in email governance and has a lot of great information to share with you guys today. Before I hand the mic over to him, however, I do have a few quick notes. First, we recommend that you maximize your screen. You can do so in the upper right-hand corner. Second, if you have any questions at any time during today's presentation, please ask them in the question box, and Scott will answer all of those at the end. And lastly, we do have polling questions today. So Scott has prepared 3 poll questions that are scattered throughout the presentation. So pay attention for those because personally I think they're really good questions, and we're eager to have your answers on those. So Scott, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. Can you hear me okay? Just want to verify?
Yep. Crystal clear.
All right, so in the spirit of using the modern technology, I'll turn on my camera so I can say hi here for a few minutes. I might leave it on the whole time, we'll see. But everybody, I want to thank you. I know you're busy, and even if it's just only a short half-hour investment of your time, that's a big investment of your time, and we appreciate it, and I want to make good use of that time. So we are going to fly through here and deliver some pretty good content, I think, right? But thank you again for joining us. So obviously we're talking about corporate email here. We're not talking about end-user email. We're and the challenges with the over-retention and the e-discovery and all the fun joy that comes with our modern communications in the business world. So allow me, if I may, I'm going to speculate as to your current situation. And by the way, I see several customers on there on our attendee list. We have a pretty large audience. Customers, prospects, a few names and companies I don't know and have relationships with, and also friends and partners. So thank you for coming on board here. And I would imagine at your company, you have an email archive. And it was put in years ago thinking, boy, we need to address this challenge that is e-discovery. We have so much email and it's scattered across the enterprise. We need to get one central repository, and you know what? Let's just keep it all, because in the with the federal rules of civil procedure, you know, the fines and the violations would come down if you didn't have something. And so let's just keep everything. Storage is cheap, and this is the age of Google. We'll just search through and find whatever the attorneys say is on legal hold. Well, flash forward just a few years later, and your email archive looks more like this than what you really ever imagined. With email growing, a lot of companies, 30% volumes a year in storage, it can become a massive problem. We have many, many customers with many hundreds of terabytes, and yes, some of our customers measure their email archives in with a P with petabytes. Hopefully you're not there, because that ever becomes more painful the more you have. And not only are you keeping all this email, you know, and maybe you had a rule that you were going to get rid of stuff and it was 5 years old or whatever number, but then you had eDiscovery come up and peppered across there, and it prevented you from really honoring those legal holds and disposing of content. Then when you realize that the vast majority of the email that is in your archive is rot, I assume probably by now you've heard that acronym, redundant, risky, outdated, trivial content. Basically, you don't need it. And the vast majority of what you have is what you don't need. We also want to let that soak in for a minute. And then secondly, only a little bit, and I think it's the percentage is a lot smaller than what our little green thing shows there, but it gets the point across. A very small percentage is that which you actually should be keeping. We estimate that to be around 5%. So we could have made that little thing a little bit of a sliver, but only about 5% are business records, business value that document the transactions of your company that, you know, hey, we should keep this around, you know, or regulatory-wise, gee, we're required to keep this. You know, those kinds of emails are very few. The vast majority is the rot that you don't need to keep. Now, I mentioned that eDiscovery, and so when that eDiscovery comes up, the concept is ESI, electronically stored information. The legal holds don't come in and say, okay, show me, make sure and preserve and collect and turn over to opposing counsel, only the emails that are responsive to the legal hold and the content we should have kept. That's not what it says. It says if you have this electronically stored information anywhere in your enterprise, you're obligated to preserve it, and you may well be obligated to produce it as well. So ESI, electronically stored information, it matters not if it's important and you needed to keep it, or if it was a very tasteless joke that was flowing around your organization in email, and you didn't need to keep it. If you kept it, it is now ESI, and if it's responsive to the legal matter, you got to keep it. And so as you can see, it becomes very important to only keep that little bit, because if you had previously disposed legally all of that rot through the normal course of business, and you were only keeping the small amount, think of the savings, the dollar savings for storage. Yes, people say storage is cheap. What's your budget for storage? Let me guess. It's millions of dollars for your organizations for storage. And when we do projects and we say how much storage is required and how hard it is to get that approved, I know storage is not cheap. The software that runs it, the people that run it, and then when systems become outdated, you got to migrate, etc. And in this case, for eDiscovery, if you'd only kept the top part, you would only be discovering the few at the top, not all of those. Likewise, I'm guessing in your current situation, you've got products like Source One or Archive. No, isn't that funny? EA, Enterprise Archive. My brain stopped there on other names. I'm going to hazard a guess that you've had trouble with your index. And instead of being a nice index that worked well, like this old-fashioned one at the library, your index became corrupted, and you're not able to respond quickly because of the size, the volumes you're dealing with, the number of matters. You're doing searches, they take maybe days or weeks, or you're never sure that you've gotten all the email. A lot of our customers end up in such a situation because indexing those vast volumes of content, these tools are just not good at it. Meanwhile, your legal costs for review and discovery, etc., are just continue to spiral out of control. So I'm going to ask you a question. Do you wish your company had less email? Would your life be better? Would your costs be lower? So Kristen just sent you the poll. It is open. It just takes a moment. Just give us a click. Yes, no, maybe. And I will show the results here in just a moment. And it's all kind of fun. And it's not for marketing or to come beat you up for leads or whatever else. This is just good sharing of information with you, with your peers. All right, so Kristen, go ahead and show 60. Most of the people have now voted. Okay, Kristen, is that right? The results are being shown, is that right?
Yep, that is correct. 64% of our audience voted on this question.
So somebody out there, or some few people, say no. They wish they had more email, and more power to you. I'm not sure. Maybe you've already solved the riddle, and that's great, and you can help us present next time. That'd be awesome. But I think the majority there is in the category where I expected it, which is, wouldn't it be great if we had less email? I could actually go golfing on Friday, something like that. Let's keep going here. And the next slide, current situation. So your archives keep growing. The costs to maintain keep growing. You probably are trying to do migrations from an old archive, email extender, or one of those, to a new platform. EDISCOVERY is painful. Your CFO is upset at how much EDISCOVERY costs and how much he's paying attorneys and the vendors. Your chief legal officer is upset at how long it takes to put things on hold and produce content. Your CEO is stressed out at night when he thinks about reputational risk of when hackers come in and take your email that are just tender morsels to put in newspapers, put on WikiMedia, WikiLeaks, and the like. we've got one customer in the media world that while they hadn't been hacked and had their email put on WikiLeaks, they had done a lot of business with Sony. So by default, their email was in the Sony servers. They got hacked. Their email now is also up on WikiLeaks, and this causes customers, whether they're in the real estate industry, which I think they're on the line right now, one of my customers, the media industry or another, thinking, why are we keeping all this stuff and exposing ourselves to let hackers take it and expose it? And meanwhile, then it might also, then you have to, your attorneys have to argue it in a court, and oh, you need to understand the context. That email was sent 4 years ago. It was a joke, but it looks bad to the jury. And maybe you've tried to do email management and email governance, and you're joining this webinar because you've tried once, you've tried twice, you failed, and you're wanting to know what the secret sauce is here. And I'm guessing that your business users push back. Oh, they're proud of the fact that they've got emails from 2000 and 2005, 6, 7, 8, and just the other day I pulled up an email and I had to show it to somebody. Yeah, good deal. But meanwhile, you're over-retaining all that massive amounts of email and costing your employer a fortune. But they think they're such a value because they've kept every email in existence. And we got to change the culture. That's not the way it is. And at the end of the day, there is a lot of email. And I recognize and empathize. It is a challenge, and that's why it takes creative solutions. Now, in case you're not familiar with eDiscovery, this is the standard model. I'd recommend go and read about this from edrm.net if you haven't already. If you're on this webinar, you should be interested in all that topic. Go out and read about it. And the reason why eDiscovery gets so expensive is because of the review. When you have attorneys look at every single email that is responsive, meaning everything in this date range from these users with these keywords, and I have attorneys look at them all. I have customers that pay $10 million a year for eDiscovery on one matter, one case. And a lot of the reason is this review right here. Well, if you want to reduce the cost of the legal review, you need to focus on upstream here, information governance. And why is that matter? It's because the most important thing on this eDiscovery reference model chart is not the red, the purple, the blue, it's the yellow. That yellow triangle represents all of the ESI you have in your enterprise. The more you have, the more it's going to cost to do eDiscovery. You want a dainty little footprint like this. And by the way, it's not just for email, but we're talking email today. And we can help you with SharePoint and files and other things too. But today, let's focus on email. You want your email archive, or maybe even you don't have an email archive anymore, and now it's just a records repository of only important emails, not jokes and such PII and related content. That's our goal. That's nirvana. So you're sitting there going, Scott, you're killing me. You're telling me what I already know. The question is, how do we do this? We got to stay compliant with regulations. You know, we've got to stay compliant with our business. If our business says certain documents are important to keep, you want to keep them, contracts per se. And, you know, we sell widgets. We own real estate. We provide health insurance or health care. Whatever it is your business does, I'm guessing it's not email management. And so your employees need to do this in a very fast and efficient way, and we don't want to get in the way of selling more widgets. But Scott, how on earth are we going to delete all of that rot that we don't need? Okay? I don't know why that just disappeared. How do we help our users make life easier to manage email better, not get in their way? Hey, can we auto-classify our email? That sounds good, right? We're in the age of self-driving cars. We ought to have self-driving email. So next survey question. 94% of you wanted to delete your email or have less. What's your obstacle? Why aren't you doing it? I got 5 answers there. Go ahead and fill them out, and we'll share the results here in just a moment. We're at 10% voted. Hurry up, people. Click on the buttons. All right, we're getting closer. Getting closer. All right. All right, thank you for being expedient so we keep things moving. Kristen, go ahead and share the results. We're well over half now. And let's see, 45% say it's a culture issue, a culture of over-retention. We've always kept everything. We don't delete. And I do encourage you to start to build a culture of information governance, and it's valuing your information by its asset value and its asset liability as well. It's a balance sheet. You have an information balance sheet, you have assets and you have liabilities. You want to minimize the liabilities and maximize and control those. 45%, 25% say, it's just too much. And then what, 15%, no one really owns it. I agree. You don't have a chief information governance officer at your company, I would imagine, although you should. Building consensus, and somebody honestly said it sounds hard, which I think is probably one of the most common answers. I have another survey question. Kristen, go ahead and put that one up too. Do you wish you could auto-classify your email? This is my last survey question until when you're all done and you tell us if this was worth it or not. All right, we're getting some honest maybes in there, by the way. Interesting. We're more than half. All right, let's go ahead and share the results. So the vast majority said yes with an exclamation point. A minority said nope, we don't want to auto-classify, 9%. And less than a quarter said we're thinking about it, maybe. Well, let's talk about it. I'm gonna work on educating you on auto-classification. Probably more than you ever wanted to know about auto-classification. So first off, did you see the news today? Snapchat went public, 20% plus valuation. They were going to come out at, I think, $18. I think they're trading at about 24 right now. I had my order in at 23 and did not get it filled. And what's so special about Snapchat? Of course, there's social phenomenon and everything else, but they're pioneering and known for delete by default. Rather than this whole culture of keep everything, which historically that's our culture. You take a picture, you save every picture you've ever taken. And the same with your email. You send an email, you receive an email, you keep it, because that's the way we've done it since I got my first email account in 1994. Well, guess what, folks? Today's 2017, and there's a lot of, e-discovery of your email in 1994 just didn't exist. Though it's an absolutely different world. The volumes are different, the technology is different, so much has changed. We need to change our mentality and be at a delete by default motto, same as Snapchat. And this is what Integro has been promoting for some time. And so let's show you what I mean by this. Here's delete by default. The average user gets a little bit less than 100 emails a day, like 70 I think is the kind of number, but your mileage may vary. Maybe your company gets more on average, maybe it gets less. Here's 100 emails. And out of your average 100 emails that your user or your company receives, only about 5%, really it's closer to 4%, are of business value and need to be retained. Well, those, we want to just tag them, flag them, keep them. Guess what, guys? I want to really focus on something most important here. The few that are valuable are the ones we're focusing our energy on because they're only few. It's not a difficult volume or challenge there with that few. We're not asking our users to spend time on all that trivial email content over there. Now, go to the next step. Your users have that culture of retention. I like to keep stuff in my Outlook. I go back and refer to it in my Outlook. That's where I file everything. You do it too. I do it as well. You go to Outlook and that or Notes, and that's where you find your stuff. Well, okay, fine. We got to make this easy to use. We got to give the end users the ability to save some of those emails that they want to keep and refer back to later. You'll be surprised to know that it's less than 15%. Large numbers, in large implementations, we're finding it to be about 14% of the email the users want to keep. And so maybe we let them keep that for 2 years, 3 years. Pick some retention that is plenty long Any longer than that, well, they ought to just make it a record. It must be that important to the company. And but then you also want to size constrain how much they keep, so they don't just set a rule and move all the really obnoxious stuff over there as well. Then delete by default. Our policy at Integro, we've been doing this since 2008, is 6 months. At 6 months, all of that is automatically disposed. And let me elaborate there. I find, as an end user, that to be one of the greatest benefits of this solution. I asked Linda here on my team just recently, I'm like, Linda, I'm doing another webinar, I'm talking about email management. What's the one point you'd want to get across? Her point was how much easier it is and better for the end user, because now all of that noise that was cluttering up her inbox and her files is gone, and she didn't have to lift a finger to remove that. We have maid service that comes through, delete by default, gets rid of that. Then at about 2 years, or whatever your policy is, that work in progress, we call it, the stuff the users wanted to keep around longer, it goes away. And then these, the ones that are important to your enterprise, some of them might be HR documents, and those need to be kept for 6 years after the employee leaves the employment of the company. Maybe it has to do with a power plant. Maybe it has to do with just a testing document. You got to keep it for 2 years from when it was created. Whatever the case might be, those get removed when it's legally right and compliant and that kind of thing. So we have tools in place. You classify those quickly and easily, and then they go away when their date has come. Now, I wish I could ask any questions, but we're going to, please pump your questions into here. We'll address them later. I've got 3 more slides that kind of look like this, and I'm going to take this learning to another level now. So the key to being successful with auto classification is, first off, really knowing about auto classification and how to train it and how to make it work for you. There's a lot of just really practical, sound business decisions that are going to make your auto classification successful or not successful. But one of those is you need to have human oversight. Now, what is human oversight? Well, here's a couple examples. In email, we have email that is inside the company, sent from me to my management team, or that comes in from outside the company, say from you guys, to me from outside the company. Well, if it's internal, and I'm creating an email to my management team or to my customer, I know it's important. I'm the author. Nobody knows this better than me, not even the computer, the auto classification. The author is the owner, is the person that should classify an email. Now, don't pop up a thing and make me classify every message I send. That'd be awful. But if I send a message, make it really easy so I can, with one click, go boom. This one's important. Keep it around. And then behind the scenes, the magic happens to keep it and for the right amount of time. Then also I get email in from outside the company. Those emails are processed, actually the internal ones as well, but the ones that come in from outside the company are auto-classified, every one of them. We don't get in the way of the auto-classification of the sending of the email. We have we come through it and do it afterwards, so we don't hold anything up. And we auto-classify and grab those important emails and set them aside to be preserved. Now note, especially in email, which is so brief and so colloquial, there's just so many challenges with how people write emails that it's going to miss some. It's not perfect. And so here's one that was missed, and that end user did a click of the mouse or a drag to a folder, and boom, they had that last one. So we've got the records. Again, delete by default. Those other ones went away at their appropriate policy time period. Human oversight, very important. And having the human review that and having that second line of defense, that second set of eyes, we make it super easy, so almost everything is done for them. But on those occasional ones that might be missed, they can flag it, and that enables you to get this deployed faster and easier. And then those are disposed at the right amount of time. Okay, lesson number 2, concepts. I hear people say, Well, gee, our auto classification works at 80% accuracy, 90% accuracy, whatever. There's two numbers that really matter. And by the way, we use those percentages as well. But what's underneath those numbers? And so first off, different categories or values of kinds of information, you might turn the dials differently, okay? It's not just one number for all email and all content. There's kind of becomes a lot of numbers and things you dial in for your categories of information. But the first concept I want to talk about is high precision. So our auto classification engine reviewed your email and it found these important emails and it flagged them to be held and preserved appropriately. And look, that is a pretty pure set. I have no false positives. That is high precision. Now, I missed one, but I have very high precision, okay? This is a lower recall because I missed one, or I missed some volume. Now, there we go, and those are deleted, and these are deleted. Let's go to the next one, high recall. So on high recall, Smart Assist, which is our auto classification, it looks at all your email, and it grabbed all of them. So we have a very high recall. I did not leave any behind. We found them all, so maybe this is an important category that, boy, we better not miss any of these because it's important that we have them. Well, we turn the dials more towards over-retention, so now we're going to pick up some false positives. We have a lower precision, but we have a very high recall. We're going to use these concepts as we look at your, whether they be big buckets and you have 5 or 10 records categories, or if you have 180 categories. We're going to use these concepts as we go through your file plan and help you determine how we should tune and optimize your system. And guess what? Delete by default, it all goes away. Very few categories, and especially in email, are like a permanent retention. You know, we do work for utility companies and they need to keep content for, if it's around a power plant, the life of that power plant plus X number of years. Well, guess what? That's a long time. But hopefully you're not over-retaining and keeping all of your email for 50 years because you needed to keep 3 for 50 years. You see the concepts. And by the way, we're driving the conversation on this, and we've got multiple patents around document classification and these concepts that we're sharing here for you right now. So human oversight, that is the secret sauce that we were talking about there. And let's look at this thing here. So we have to train it. In case you're not aware, we have to train it. We have to get good sample content from you of your content that represents the important documents that you need to keep. And I think I'm running low on time, but we're getting there. And so with human oversight, the level of effort to train it is less because we still have that second set of eyes that's going to review it. We don't have to go to statistical, nth degree before we go live. Additionally, after you train it with a huge amount of effort and hundreds of thousands of documents maybe, you got to test it to prove that it's really doing what you want. It's actually a whole very iterative cycle, train, test, etc. But with human oversight, again, the bar is much lower, and you can then, time to benefit, you can actually get it deployed, you can get benefit, and move your company forward. And for the 96% of you that want less email, this is easy. We can help you assist your users and auto-classify your email and get you to that savings. Now, I think I'm running low on time. Kristen, how am I doing on time? I'm a little long.
We're at the half-hour mark already.
All right. So I'll probably demo it another time, or you can call us and we can demo what this looks like. But you have a couple of options in how you deploy it. You can govern in place right in Office 365 if that's your mail platform, or we can take only the records at 4 or 5%, put them into a system of record. You know, we like IBM FileNet as an excellent ECM and records management system. Maybe you want to put it in Box and unlimited storage in Box. And we have options. We are agnostic. We don't care where you're going to put it. Those are just some of our preferences. Now, maybe you're not in the cloud yet. Maybe you're still on Lotus Notes. We got you covered. And maybe you're on on-prem Microsoft Exchange. we got you covered. So kind of a closing thought here. I've been talking, in case you haven't figured this out, and maybe I didn't make it clear, I've been talking about your day forward email, the email that after we get this thing deployed, we're going to govern all your email going forward, email governance. We can also, maybe you can't get consensus, you're not there, we still do email archiving. We help with process integrations like insurance companies, claims, etc., EDISCOVERY. And we can also help you clean up when you kick the can down the road and the pay me now, pay me later kind of thing, and you've got that huge email archive, we can migrate your content to new systems. We can clean it up, respecting those legal holds, set you up with the new EDISCOVERY systems, clean up your PSTs if you're still unfortunate enough to have PSTs in your enterprise. We work in a lot of areas, but our product that we're talking about really helps with day forward email governance. And that's my half hour. Any questions?
Hi, Scott. We do have one question. Someone is asking, what is the timeline to implement a solution with auto classification with human oversight?
Great question. Well, it varies. It depends on you. You know, the technology and implementing the technology takes, really, we can measure it in days or weeks, right? It does not take long to put in the plumbing and the tools. What then takes a while are twofold. We got to work through helping you make policy decisions, how long you're going to keep this and that, and how your category is going to be. So there's a lot of kind of business and records governance kind of consulting that we help with that can take, you know, some weeks. And then there's the training of the auto classification engine itself. And so our approach, what we like to do is we need sample content. We need some good, you know, here's a newspaper, right? If I show the system a whole bunch of newspapers, it's going to get really good at recognizing newspapers. That's a metaphor for a records category. Same concept applies. We're going to show them a whole bunch from a certain category, etc. And you may not have those at your disposal. And what we can do is we can implement this tool first without auto classification and run it. And the end users, just by flagging their emails to records categories, we organically assemble a critical mass, a corpus we call it, of content, and we can train it. So it becomes a phase thing and you roll it out, but you can really get to benefit in months, a few months is a good answer. And then you're going to continue to improve and evolve as well. It's no one time, ring the bell, I'm done. I wish that was the case. Any other questions?
Yeah, we have one more. Can you quantify the value of preventing future expensive discovery costs?
Great question. So what I do recommend is you should have analytics at your company today on how many matters you have, the number of custodians, so you get an average size of matter, what your costs are, and so you can look at your own history of, we have 40 matters a year and that are of significance, and they're an average of $2 million, whatever the numbers are. You can look at history, and of course it's like the stock market, you can't guarantee that's the same for the future. Then you also need to look at, what if we get one of those class action lawsuits where all of a sudden we have an age discrimination lawsuit and we have to save all the email and discover against all the email for all managers. That's half your company, and that's just brutal, and that's happened to our customers. So yeah, you got to look at history and interpolate and forecast for the future. You will have e-discovery costs in the future, guaranteed. How much, it becomes some speculation. It's a little bit like insurance, but it's not if, but it's a matter of when. So with that, we're a little bit over time. I thank you for staying on the line. Looks like most people did stay on. Thank you very much. And Kristen, I'll let you close it out.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. So everyone, we do have one quick survey when you close out of this webinar. It's just one question asking you how we did. My email is on the screen right now, so if you have any additional questions or if you'd like to schedule more time with Scott or anyone in our email governance team at Integro, feel free to contact me. And with that, we'll let you go. Thank you so much.